the money doesn't solve that. Sure, you can have the nice car and the nice house now, but is that if you're in that house alone, if you've developed no relationships along the way and you have no friends anymore, what's it really? What's that $10 million house really worth?
All that shit that everybody else is doing, it's always gonna be there. The clubs, all that shit, it's gonna be there. A year from now, it's still gonna be there. But the opportunities you have now, the time you have now to make these changes, it's not always gonna be there.
Joseph, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Brad.
Hey, I saw your content on TikTok and I was like, gotta have him on. So for people who don't know the content you put out, you want to give a little brief description on that?
Definitely. So, hello everyone. My name is Joseph, also known as Motivational Speaking. I am a content creator on TikTok. I post a lot of self-improvement things, just content just for you to level up. And my goal is just to connect with experience. So yeah, I love doing what I do. I love creating content, and I just love helping. Oh, excuse me. I just love helping people.
What compelled you to start the channel?
Well, it's actually it's a pretty long story, but before this isn't I haven't been doing this for I haven't just started doing this. I used to be a content creator for fitness. The name was Motivation Fitness, and pretty much that was the start of my content creation journey. The reason I started this page was because I felt like I was limited to only talking about fitness, because with Motivation Fitness, my content creation was all about helping people get into fitness. And I was doing that through speaking. And I quickly realized, I'm trying to branch out. I'm trying to talk about my own experiences with life. And I just felt that I was just so limited in the fitness niche that I couldn't really branch out. And so I had to kind of take a step away from that account, had to make a sacrifice, and here we are.
I love that, bro. Because there's nothing like being able to express yourself on the content you put out, because there's so many. I talked about this with my buddy Naive, who is a fitness YouTuber, but he makes things very unique. He adds movies, TV shows, all this different types of stuff to his content. We're talking about a lot of fitness influencers. It's like you put out a video of you working out, and it's like, I do this set times 8, this exercise, this and that, and it's not bad at all. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just it's not different. It's not really expressing you. So, along this journey, how important is it for us to surround ourselves with like-minded people?
Like-minded individuals. That's something I was pretty heavy on for last time, ever since I was in high school. I think it's definitely because a lot of people say that, as long as you don't let yourself get influenced by a ad circle, you're all good. But I truly feel like that's just a lot more energy expenditure to not be influenced by the other people, versus if you just surround yourself with people who are like-minded, people who have the same mentality as you. It's not only motivating, but it's reassuring, knowing that there's people same path as you, same journey, and it's amazing. And I think it's definitely something that gets overlooked a lot, for sure.
100%. It's definitely something that's overlooked, because so many of us will stay in the relationships that the people just, I don't want to say they're different than us. It's just, there's a lot of people that have the potential to hold you back in the way they live their lives. I like to give the example of, this is kind of like a psychological phenomenon, but, let's say you hang out with 10 of your friends that you hang out with all the time. All of them smoke cigarettes, but you don't smoke cigarettes. You can say, oh, I can hang out with them when they're all doing it. As long as like you said before, as long as I don't let myself go down that road, it's fine. But psychologically speaking, the statistics are saying that you hang out with those 10 friends all the time that are doing that, even though you firmly believe, oh, I'd never do it, you're most likely going to start doing it.
Yeah, and like really, when you're around that type of influence, like you're around influence that you don't want to be around, yeah, you're like, oh, it's okay, I'm just not going to do it. Over time, let's say you're in your journey, you're trying to go your own route, you're trying to do your own goals, and they're over there partying, doing whatever, you're gonna start to question yourself, like, because what they're doing, man, you see it all the time. That's all you see, and so you start. That's the normal, and so you're over here, you're alone. You're gonna start to question, yo, what if this doesn't work out, or what if, what if I'm doing something wrong, or like, you know what I mean? And you start to question it all, and they're over there partying and do whatever, and you might just get distracted and might just throw you off your course.
Right. And in a situation like that, you're a lot of the times you might start, questioning yourself and start indulging in that type of stuff. And, I can't come out here and say that, just partying in general is the worst thing in the world. There's nothing wrong with doing what you want to do. Just from the way I live my life, I can't understand the whole culture on going and partying Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, every single week, every single weekend. And I mean, just for me personally, it's like I feel like I'm not doing anything with my life.
Yeah, for sure. And it all comes down to sacrifice. Right? So that's definitely a big factor to it as well.
Can you break that down for me? What exactly do you mean by the sacrifice aspect?
Sacrifice, like just understanding that when you're going through that kind of journey to where you're moving away from everyone else, you're doing something that the average person isn't doing, you're going to have those thoughts. You're going to have constantly doubt yourself. But again, it's all mental. You got to understand that what you do and how you think and all that is unique. You know what I mean? That it's different from the average person. So you got to learn to embrace that and understand that it's okay to go through impact. You know what I mean?
Right. And I think something that goes so much along with that is discipline. Being able to understand what you're going to have to do day to day, and not letting those outside conditions and those outside people completely distract you from that. I would argue if you miss a day, if you have a set schedule for things you have to get done every day, and there's one day where you miss a few things, it's not the end of the world. But like I saw on your channel, jumping in and you can't, when you have one of those days that, you might get off track a little bit or you're a little bit tired, you can't let yourself become complacent.
You cannot. There's a difference too, because some people mistake it as, wait, does that mean I can't rest? I have to be grinding 24/7? A lot of people overlook rest, and there's a difference between rest and complacency. Rest is you can take that day off. You can take, maybe even a couple of days off just to regain that momentum, just to kind of take a step back, look at your progress, look at the direction you're heading towards your goals. Versus if you just are complacent, you rest, you tell yourself you're going to rest, but then you end up just completely sticking with your old habits. You're letting that kind of drag you down, put you in a rut. That's like, that kills your momentum to getting to where you want to be.
And it's such an easy thing to do. It's so much easier to stop one day and then get into the cycle of that, and it's compared to you knowing what you have to do every day and sticking with that. It's so much easier. It's so much mentally more satisfying to just live the pleasurable life of sticking to the old habits where you don't really get anything done.
Yeah, because it's comfortable, right? Because you've been grinding for the past week or so. It's been uncomfortable. It feels good to kind of just sleep in, lay down for the day, kind of all that. So it's definitely easy, but I guess with that comes your mentality. How much do you want it, right? How bad do you want it?
Yeah, and your habits are your habits are important for everything in life, because your life is, generally speaking, a series of habits. If you have a certain job that you work every day, you most likely have to go out there at a similar time. You most likely get up at a similar time. You most likely get home at a similar time. And generally speaking, a lot of people do the same things every day. So if you're not in control of what you're doing or conscious of what you're doing, it's very easy to lose the grip on where you see yourself in 5 years, and then just let that fall apart. And then 5 years go by and you think to yourself, what happened?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And it's like, it's all about, because especially when you're building new habits, you're going to have to be consciously aware of what you're doing. But the whole goal is to be able to do it subconsciously, to where you wake up, you got to wake up early in the morning, like you don't even think twice about it. It's part of you. You know what I mean? And that's the whole point, because a lot of people, they're so focused on the long-term goal, constantly chasing it, chasing the long-term goal, and they're not aware of the steps that they're taking to get to that goal. And so they're constantly chasing. They're not aware of the steps. They're stepping in pins. They're stepping in needles. They're going off route into a different direction. And I feel like the daily habits itself, that's the little momentums that's going to build and snowball into you achieving a long-term success. You know what I mean?
Right. And just to say it again, I mean, it's so important to be conscious of your decisions and the habits that you make, because there's even been so many times in my life where, I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's called NoFap. There was a time where I did it for a year, right? And then, it became I didn't even have to think about it anymore. It was just something that was a habit of mine. I just didn't do it, right? And then after that year, there was a time where it was like, all right, I did it for a year, right? It's fine. Let me just do it once, and then it snowballs. You think after you've done something it's like you building a habit and doing it for a year, and then being like, let me just stop. Let me take it easy. But then that snowballs into transitioning your life into being easy.
Mm-hmm. And that's when you gotta really realize, like, yo, do I want to go back to that same feeling again? Because if you're constantly putting yourself in the same ruts over and over and over again by falling back into the same habits, that's completely your fault. You got to learn to be aware of it. You got to learn to distance yourself from it. And really, if it's a huge problem, you going back to your old habits, you can always replace, right? Like just different habits to rest. You can't keep putting yourself in the same rut over and over again, because that's what's killing you.
And I think that's what happens to so many of us, because I think so many people just don't analyze their habits or how they live their lives daily. That's why so many people in high school and even in college are just, let's say you go to high school, you go to school and then you go home and you lay in your bed for the rest of the day and just watch TikTok. It's like people do that for year after day, year after year, because they just don't have that moment where they're conscious of it. And it's like, wait, what am I doing with myself?
Right. Yeah, it's self-awareness is definitely a big role in self-development. If you're constantly, because again, it's all accountability, right? If you're constantly relying on others to kind of motivate you to get yourself up, if you're constantly like, oh, I'm like shit, I'm gonna just look up a motivational video or I'll scroll on TikTok till I see a motivational video, then I'm gonna get my ass up. That's like, come on now, like you're never gonna get to where you want to be if you're constantly relying on other people, right? So the moment you're self-aware, the moment you're hard on yourself, because that's important. You got to be able to learn when to be hard on yourself. Like, yo, I can't be fucking around right now. Like, I got to get to it. You know what I mean? I got to get up early. So the moment you become self-aware, you analyze your habits, you analyze what it's doing, if it's progressing, if it's causing you to progress or set you back, then you got to act from that, analyzation, right?
Right. I remember a year in high school when I had, it was a point in my life where I was strictly on the, let me improve my life, let me get in all these habits in place, because, I didn't have to work, I didn't have to do anything else, right? School wasn't a huge aspect. I had to go, but I didn't have that much work and stuff. So I was, going to the gym, doing all this different stuff, right? And so I had this routine in the morning. I had to get up at a certain time. I take a cold shower every morning, this and that. And, so something such as cold showers, I got to be honest, recently I haven't really been up to par with what I used to be doing. So it's something I have to work on. But I remember during that time, it's like, a cold shower, it's like when you first get it, when you wake up in the morning and it's winter time and 5 minutes after you wake up, you get out of your bed and you're cold, to make the conscious decision to go and jump into the shower that is even colder, that is going to make you colder, that takes discipline, and that takes,
For sure.
but it's like something like that, it pays off, because I like what I tell people is with the cold shower, it's, you get in the first 30 seconds, a minute, or it's pretty torturous, it's cold, man, it's cold, and everything in your mind is like, just turn it down warm, just get out. But after you survive that first minute, it's like bliss. It's like you don't overthink anymore. And when you get out of the shower, your mind seems so clear. And at that point, when I did that in my morning routine, it was just, I was ready for the day. I was ready.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. And that's like, people like that itself is a win. You know what I mean? And people constantly chase these big wins, and you're not noticing the little wins, man. Like, that's what we gotta appreciate and be grateful. Like, yo, you got your ass up this morning. You didn't sleep in. You heard your alarm. You actually got up, turned off the alarm, and you went to do whatever it is you want to do. That itself is a win, man. Like, the daily habits, I'm telling you, those are the momentum builders, and you gotta understand that for sure.
And I really like that point you just made about realizing that is a small win. Because I think so much of the time when you're on the journey of trying to make your life better, trying to improve your life, and then in turn help other people, it's very easy to not be proud of yourself. It's very easy to say, I need to get these 10 things done. If I only get 9 done today, I'm a failure. And I think that's where we go wrong, and not celebrating ourselves for the stuff that we're actually doing. Because if you look 2-3 years ago about the habits you used to have, and then you have your new habits that are actually making your life better, it's not the end of the world if you miss one day where you didn't meditate.
Definitely. And you gotta, again, to add on, you gotta look at your progression, right? A lot of people, they be saying, successful influence, they say, forget about your past. Fuck, leave the past. Never look behind. Just focus on what you can do now in the future, which is right? You should be focused on what you can do now. Whatever failures you had in the past, just leave them, whatever. But a lot of what people don't realize is you can use the past to see your progression. Right now, people are saying, yo, I'm trying to get to my goals. I'm trying to get to the bag. I'm stressed about this. I'm stressed about that. But yo, just chill out, man. Look at how far you've come. You know what I mean? Like, a year ago, like you said, you were not thinking like this. You weren't even thinking about these kind of habits. You weren't thinking about the future or anything. So the fact that, especially for my young people, the fact that you are thinking about your future now, you're thinking about getting to the bed, thinking about how to be rich, or you think about what your purpose is in life and all that stuff at a young age, that itself is separating you from a lot of kids, like nowadays, because a lot of kids are now consumed by things like social media, et cetera, et cetera. So the past, looking at your progression, that's definitely a big factor to staying motivated to getting to where you want to be.
And it's so important to not let people's opinions of you change what you do, because I think that's a trap that a lot of people fall into. I know for me, I started these new habits, right? And my life was getting better because I wasn't in a great place at the time. And, I'd want to share that stuff with my friends, I'd tell them about it. And for some things they'd make fun of me for, and they'd be like, oh, like, why are you doing that? That's not necessary or whatever. And in the back of my mind, like, I got a little bit discouraged. I'm like, I'm making my life better. I'm trying to like help them too, get them to help themselves. And like, they don't want to do it, or they think it's stupid. And that's just something you have to come to terms with. It's like, everybody's journey is separate from each other. And if people aren't doing the same thing as you are, there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone, there's people that are fine with going throughout their entire teenage years, their entire 20s, partying, doing all this stuff, and then getting their whatever job they end up getting, whatever they end up doing, and they're fine with that, right? So I don't want to bash anyone for that, but
yeah, of course,
when you do things a little bit differently, you can't. It's so important to not let people just get you down, because even though I was a little bit discouraged in the back of my mind, I knew that what I was doing was truly helping me. So even though I was a little bit discouraged, there was no thought in my mind of, hey, let me just stop.
Yeah, and I like to make this reference a lot because you gotta stay in your lane. You know what I mean? So for my people who drive out there, when you're driving on the road, right? You're aware of like, what's going on in the front. You know, you're constantly focused on getting to your destination, constantly staying in your own lane. You know what I mean? Yeah, you're aware of kind of people are in front of you, people are beside you, they're switching lanes or whatever, all that stuff. But you're not actively looking to the side while you're driving. You know what I mean? It's because you're gonna crash wherever you look, you're gonna crash. That's how it is with driving. And so, same thing with your clothes. You gotta look ahead. You gotta be tunnel vision. You know what I mean? Be aware of kind of your surroundings. You know, and your environment. Make sure you're not surrounding yourself with toxic people. Make sure you're not letting toxic people get into your life. But that's kind of like the tunnel vision you need to have. Because if you're focused on the next man, how much money he's making or what he's saying about you, all this stuff, you're gonna fuck around and swerve into their lane. You know what I mean? You're gonna fuck around and hit him. Versus you just staying in your lane, staying focused on the goal. Whatever he's doing on the side, it's whatever. That doesn't concern me because that's not going to get me to where I'm going with my goals. So why should I be worried about what the next man is doing? So gotta stay in your own lane. You gotta block out the noise or the negativity because at the end of the day, it all comes down to you. You're the one who's making this shit happen anyway. So other people they don't matter.
And the other thing I really like to emphasize because it's so important is people are always going to judge you for no matter what you do, whether it's something you believe is good, something that bad. If you make one mistake, they'll capitalize on that. There's people that like to do that. But what you need to understand is 99% of people, they don't know you. They don't know all this. They don't even know all the stuff you're doing now. They have no idea where you came from. They have no idea if you've had it incredibly difficult throughout your entire life. They don't know about that, right? But you know about that. And you know you've made so much progress. So why let somebody who doesn't know of anything about your life dictate how you're going to live your life and change your habits and all? It just doesn't make any sense.
There you go. Because at the end of the day, you know yourself. You know your worth. You know your potential. You've been through it all. You've seen it all. So opinions of others, it doesn't matter. And they're always going to talk anyway. Always going to talk.
And, another thing that comes along with just pursuing what you want to pursue is feeling lost. And I'm sure it's something you've dealt with, and I know it's something I've dealt with. There's sometimes you make a certain life decision that might be a little bit different than other people, and there might be a point where you're like, I'm not 100% sure why I want to take this.
See, with that, it's interesting. And I feel like sometimes it's okay to be lost. You know what I mean? I heard this from someone. I don't know who it was. I think his name was Living Lamar. Shout out to you about it on Instagram. But sometimes in your journey, you need to learn to be confidently lost in your journey. Because at the end of the day, you don't have to have it all figured out. You know what I mean? As long as you have your goal, you have your shit planned out, you got the daily steps you need to take, things are going to come up, right? And that's when sometimes you may need to readjust. You may need to head into a different route to get to your goal, whatever it is. But you need to learn to just embrace that and just learn that it's all part of the process. You know what I mean? Because I'm a heavy believer on the idea that everything happens for a reason. I mean, you might experience this one thing, good or bad. It's going to lead you to another thing. It's going to lead you to another pathway, another doorway to a new experience, right? So just learning to be confidently lost, embrace the journey. And I know it's so easy to say, but really just try to take it in, enjoy every step of the way, and just stick to the goal, because you've been through dark times before, right? When you look back at your past, you've been through those stuff before, and you're still here now. So that's definitely how I view being lost in your journey.
And like you just said, enjoying the process is the most important part of it, because if you don't enjoy, let's say it's the 40 years you take to get that $1 million that you've always wanted, if you can't enjoy the process of that, once you get it, you might have $1 million right now, but you're like, what did I do for the past 40 years of my life? I didn't enjoy anything.
Mhm. Yeah, and a lot of people, they think it's all about just getting to the destination. Yo, once I get this goal, once I get this certain level amount of money, I'm finally gonna be happy. And if you're thinking like that, that's gonna completely fuck with you in your head, because you gotta understand that it's not about what you attain at the end or what you get at the end of the goal or whatever it is. It's who you become throughout the journey. It's who you actually, you know, become to develop, right? To get to your goals, because that's what it takes. You gotta learn that. You gotta understand that you can't just go from 0 to 100 right away. You gotta go through the steps. You gotta go through the experiences that levels you up in order to get to that goal. So if you're constantly just focused on a goal, you even if you do get it, you're not gonna be happy.
Right. And in terms of the money aspect thing, it's like that, it really, it depends what your goals are, but at the same time, just because, I've said this before, but, just because you have the $5 million now doesn't mean all your mental issues are going away, all those insecurities. It's like all that stuff, it's still there. The money doesn't solve that. Sure, you can have the nice car and the nice house now, but is that, if you're in that house alone, if you've developed no relationships along the way and you have no friends anymore, what's it really, what's that $10 million house really worth?
Right. And you gotta look at it from this standpoint as well. It's like you can't let materialistic things, external things, make your identity. You know what I mean? It's all throughout the process. You gotta understand that throughout the process, you're learning to develop yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, maybe even spiritually. And that's what's gonna, you gotta be able to be disciplined and consistent throughout the journey, because that's what's gonna build your character to when you reach that goal. This is who you're gonna be. This is who you stand by, the beliefs you stand by, the morals you stand by, whatever it is. I mean, so you can't. It's pretty deep, but you can't let materialistic things define who you are. You just can't.
Right. How have you dealt with overthinking in your journey?
Overthinking, as in like my journey in general, just like my progression and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Overthinking, it's again, it's all a mental thing, and just the thing I stand by is just understanding how far I've come, understanding that it's all a process, and that patience definitely plays a role, because if you know that what you're doing right now is correct, you're following the plan consistently, you're staying disciplined and all that stuff, it's only a matter of time anyways. So that's when patience comes to play, right? So there's no need to be overthinking or anything, because I know, okay, this is all going to pay off one day. If I just keep this consistency up and I'm following the plan like I'm supposed to, it's only a matter of time.
And something that goes along with that is, you know, that's also kind of related to, looking at other people is it's very easy to look at other people, even though you might think that you're on the right track and you have the right goals in place. You look at, if you're 20 and you look at someone else that's 20 and they have it all, they have all the goals that you have, they already have that at that age. It's pretty easy to look at that and be like, man, I must be behind.
Definitely. Yeah. That it's social media nowadays, it makes it so easy to compare to other people, because all they do is post the win. Yeah, I mean, they don't post their deepest, darkest times. So you got to understand that you don't know their story. Maybe they've been grinding. Some of it might be lucky. Okay, they blew up overnight or something, whatever. But for the most part, a lot of the successful people, they put in a ton of work. And to be successful at 20, having all like the millions of dollars or whatever, that takes first of all, talent and obviously hard work, dedication, consistency. You got to understand that if you're able to develop that trait, you're going to be there too, man. It's only a matter of time before you're there. And they may have started earlier. They may have gone through something. Everybody's life is different. Everybody is dealt with a different set of cards. But you need to understand that your time is coming. Your time will come. That's all that matters. Fuck what this person's doing. Fuck if they're successful now or they're doing this or doing that. It doesn't matter because that shouldn't concern you, because right now you should be focused on what you should be doing to get to your goals. And understanding that it's just time. It's just time, discipline, consistency.
And I love what you said about social media portraying just the successes, because, you could just use the example of, let's say, two people who are in a relationship have their own, they have their own little Instagram page where they post all their cute stuff. They could have 30 photos on there of them looking like they're the happiest person in the world. And you look at that and you're like, oh, why can't I have that type of relationship? But what you don't know is those two argue every single day. You just have no idea.
They don't see the closed door. They don't see what goes on behind the scenes.
And
it's
just, social media has brought a lot of good and a lot of bad. And that's one of the things in terms of comparing yourselves to other people. It's brought that to a whole nother level.
Oh yeah, for sure. Definitely.
Is it selfish to take time to improve yourself?
Definitely not. No, I wouldn't say so, because again, it's the only people who would say it's selfish is people who don't want the best for you. You know what I mean? So you need to understand that if you need to take time off for yourself, you need to distance yourself away from a certain group or a certain environment, wherever. It's totally up to you. You know what I mean? Like it's something wrong with that, for sure. Definitely not.
I think there's something that a lot of people can misinterpret in terms of that, of when, somebody might tell their friends, like, hey, like, I love you guys, but we're not going to be able to hang out as much because there's a lot of stuff that I have to deal with in my life. I have to do this and whatever. You might not list all of it, but you just tell them, like, hey, we're going to have to spend less time together because I got some stuff I got to get done. And certain people might, take a toxic approach to that and be like, you're not, especially in like a relationship aspect, what, you can't spend as much time with me? You can't talk to me all day, every day anymore? Like, what's up with that? Is it,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and see, with that, it's people say it's selfish, but I'm telling you, if they say it's selfish, then you shouldn't be surrounding yourselves with them in the first place. It's as simple as that, really. Because again, you got to understand that if that's what you need to do, this goes back to the opinions of others, all that stuff. If that's what you need to do and nobody's supporting it, then it's better to just go your own route and do it alone and do it with peace, rather than just questioning yourself. Oh, maybe they're right. Maybe I should just not improve myself. Maybe I should just, keep hanging out with them or whatever. It's never gonna do you right.
And I think what people don't understand is, if you stick around with that person, a year down the line, 5 years down the line, they're going to have so much knowledge about whatever field they're in, whatever they've been focusing on for that dedicated time. And them taking the time to improve themselves and learn all the knowledge and stuff like that, that's going to help you in turn too. So it wouldn't even make sense for them to say, like, oh, it's selfish that you're taking that time. But in that time, it's going to then in turn provide value to that person if they stuck around.
Yeah, definitely. And really, it's all about, what's the word? Reciprocity, the reciprocal energy between the two, right? Because if you're in a party, if you're with a group that doesn't offer the same value as you can for them, and you're the one with kind of all this knowledge and you're trying to level yourself up and all that stuff, and the group is kind of just bringing you down, they're taking away your energy or whatever, you can't be around them, you know what I mean? But like an alternative is you can look at them and you can say, yo, guys, like, let's get on our shit, you know what I mean? I'm on this, like, what do you guys think about this? And let's level up together. If they're not on that wave, then might just be being held back, you know?
Right. Because, my bet the friends that I call my best friends are the ones who are on a similar level as me or higher than me. Because, you know, I can share knowledge with them, they can share knowledge with me. We can do a certain activity together that's gonna grow both of us. And even people say, it's something that's common that a lot of people do nowadays, which is go to just, go into the gym with a partner. And I enjoy working out alone a lot of the time, but I also enjoy going with a partner. And there's a lot of competition in the world that isn't healthy, but I think there is also a lot of healthy competition where you can go to the gym with your buddy and you guys can compare. I'm lifting this and you're lifting that, so that there's a healthy competition and like, oh, my friend's lifting more than me. I need to like improve myself to get me to lift more, and then you're both helping each other out.
See, that comes with having people who are like-minded in your circle, because I can never understand how someone can look at their friend, they see him doing success in it, they're like, fuck, I gotta bring him down. I can't see that. If I see my friend, they're getting to the money, they're achieving a certain level of success, they're getting to their goals, they're leveling themselves up, I'm gonna look at it and I'm gonna say, fuck, it's time to get on my shit, because I'm trying to do that too. You know what I mean? And so they're motivating you. You're looking at it as a source of motivation. That's the power of having like-minded individuals in your circle. It's because they're all focused on leveling up. And so what are you going to do? You're going to be focused on leveling, because even in your ruts too, because when you're in such a dark spot and you see your friend in the light, they're doing all this, they're doing a lot for themselves. That itself, the energy from there, that shit can pull you out. And you can achieve different level of mindset. Vice versa, you could be moving up, they're in a dark spot, and you're telling them, yo, let's keep pushing, yo. I'm with you the entire way. You know what I mean? So it's crazy.
And that's the thing. Those friends are going to be by your side when you're in the rut, because the majority of people you're in your rut, you're in your dark place. They're gonna mind their own business. They're gonna continue doing what they're doing without you, because you don't really want to go out at that time. You're dealing with your stuff. But those true friends, they're gonna be with you every step of the way if you need them. They'll be fine with, hey, just give me a call, bro. Let's talk about it. Or, is there any way I can help you? Whatever it is, they'll be there for you.
And that comes with having obviously good friends like that, right? But a lot of people, they don't have none of that. And so for the people out there who are going through dark times by themselves, it's a tough spot. It's fucked. I know you're in such a hole that you feel like you can't claw out of, but you need to understand that now is really the best time to not only figure out who your real ones are, who true friends are, but really what you're fucking capable of. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, again, we're talking about self-accountability. You gotta be able to rely on yourself. And so if you're in this kind of rut right now, you're in a super dark spot, understand that it's only gonna make you fucking stronger. You're gonna get out of it. Trust me. You really just gotta dig deep, really think hard for yourself, and just figure out a way to get the fuck out of there, because you gotta learn to rely on yourself. And when you're leveling up in the future, you don't have those friends there to motivate you or to do all that. You have yourself. That's definitely a part. So definitely something I wanted to add on for sure.
And you have to realize that, during those times where you're alone and you're struggling and you don't really have those people that are like-minded, if you keep going, like this is what happened for me for a long time. When I started all this stuff, I was by myself. None of my friends were a part of it. But when you keep doing it, when you're confident in yourself and you keep going, I guarantee you are going to start meeting those people that are like-minded.
For sure.
Mm-hmm. And you can just, if anyone's watching, you're trying to analyze your friends or which ones are might be right for me, which ones might not be right for me. Something that is talked about more in our society now is energy, and that stuff is real. Like you feel a different way when you talk to certain people. You might have that friend where every time you're around them, you just feel weird. You're like a little bit uncomfortable. It just feels kind of negative. And then you might have another friend where every time you talk to them, it's like your day brightens up. You feel like you can always have a good conversation with them. And that's an important thing to realize is the energy that people are giving you, whether it's physical actions or it's just simply a conversation.
Yeah, for sure. It's interesting because people look at it and they say, yo, but that person's my day one. I've known him ever since elementary or junior high, or like we go way back. And that a lot of the times, just because they're your day ones doesn't mean they're real ones. You know what I mean? And it's a tough pill to swallow, especially as you get older. But you got to understand that as you get older, you step into the real world, you can't have any of that toxic shit in your life, especially if you're pursuing something that's different from the average person. You cannot have that shit distract you, move you away, or anything. You got to be laser focused. And again, it's all an energy thing. You feel it out. If you bring me bad vibes, hey man, I gotta do my own thing. You know what I mean? I gotta distance myself away. And when you distance yourself away, as you continue to level up, you are gonna start to attract the people who are meant for you into your life. It doesn't matter if it's a month from now, a year from now, it doesn't matter. That time will come because you are who you attract. And as you start to level up, align yourself with your future self, align yourself with these certain habits. Again, it's an attraction. You're gonna attract people who are on the same wavelength as you.
And man, the payoff for that is another feeling when you work so hard for yourself and to get to the place that you're at, and you start meeting those people that are like-minded, because the conversations that you start having, the energy you start receiving, the everything, since
It's almost
you
like
took you took the time to level up yourself, and now it's paying off.
It's it's so like reassuring, you know what I mean? To like have somebody there who's like with you along the way, who's been through similar shit that you've been through, good and bad. But you gotta understand that that time will come. You know what I mean? Like for the most part, your journey may be lonely. Everyone's journey is different. Your journey may be lonely for the longest time, and then you meet somebody. You might meet somebody at the start of the journey, and that shit just takes off. Everybody's different, and you can't. Again, this goes back to even comparing with other people's journeys. Your shit's different, bro. So don't be discouraged if you're in this alone, or don't think a certain way if you're working on this with somebody. It's working out, but you're like, what? This person's doing it alone. Maybe I should we be doing it alone? That shit doesn't matter. Just focus on what you need to do. Whatever is meant for you will come to you. Straight like that.
100%. And along your journey, it's the fear of missing out will come occasionally. For some, it's more than others. For some, it's not. But it's definitely easy to look at what you're doing and then look at what the majority of people are doing and like we said before, questioning, like, is it worth it for me to like not be around the people and not go to these parties and not do all this stuff? Is it worth it? And what am I doing? Is it really worth it? Or am I going to be lonely when I'm older? And to that, I say, you're not going to be lonely, man. You're like we just said before, you're going to meet those people. Everything will pay off. Like you said before, whether it's in a week, whether it's in a year, whether it's in 5 years, whatever it is going to work out.
And all that shit that everybody else is doing, it's always going to be there. The clubs, all that shit, it's going to be there. A year from now, it's still going to be there. But the opportunities you have now, the time you have now to make these changes, it's not always going to be there. You can waste all this time just overthinking all this shit. But you need to understand that it's always going to be there. You can always resort back to whatever it is. You can always resort back to the comfort zone, you know what I mean? Which is the party. All that shit. I mean, but you got to realize, like, now, that shit might not be for you. And it comes down to sacrifices.
And what I've observed is, I know people that genuinely enjoy like going to parties and, doing all the drinking, doing all the stuff, the hookup culture, the whole bit. And, you do your thing, right? But there's also that I know there's so many people there that aren't doing it because they enjoy it. They're doing it to escape their daily lives because they don't like what they're doing. They're doing it to escape those bad relationships, to escape all the stress, to whatever it is. It's for so many people, partying is an escape. I was talking to one of my friends one time, and being straight up with people about that type of stuff isn't really. I don't think a lot of people talk about that. But I asked her, I was like, because she would get drunk all the time and go to parties all the time, and I said to her, I was like, "Are you doing this because you genuinely enjoy doing it, or is there stuff going on in your life and you're just trying to escape it?" And she's like, "Yeah, I just have so much stress and like it just like it relieves me of doing all the drinking and stuff like that." And it's like, so it's like, you're trying to do this to fit in, but you're fitting in with the energy of, I don't like my life, I'm just trying to escape everything.
And honestly, that they could, especially when you're an adult, you gotta grow up. You gotta learn to face whatever it is that you're going through. You know what I mean? Because if you're constantly using these all this bullshit as an escape, you're never gonna learn to face your problems. You're never gonna learn to overcome obstacles, and life, the real world is never gonna fucking wait for you. They're not gonna. The real world doesn't give a fuck about you. It's still the day's still gonna go by, whether you like it or not. Time is still gonna go by, whether you like it or not. So you gotta understand that the more time you waste, the less opportunities you're gonna have to be able to overcome whatever it is you overcome. You just gotta learn to face that. And some people aren't ready for that, and that's okay. You can tell them all this advice. We can show them this podcast, all of this value. You know what I mean? And they could still not want to change. So at the end of the day, it all comes down to you. If you're tired of feeling like this, you gotta understand that you gotta face it. It's as simple as that. And if you're not ready to fix it, if you're not ready to make a change for yourself, you can't rely on somebody else to come save you, because the only person that can save you is yourself.
I couldn't agree more. It is impossible to help somebody that doesn't want to be helped. You can give them all the advice in the world and they won't do anything with it, because some people just, it's something that you have to accept. That is a difficult thing, especially nowadays. Is some people they just don't want to be helped. They're in a very dark place and they're struggling with all these things, but they genuinely don't want help. And sometimes you just you just can't help them anymore. And that's not to say if your friend's dealing with this stuff, give up on them and stop being friends with them. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying there gets to a point for some people just wire themselves to stay in the negativity 24/7 and never be able to help themselves. And to that's just going to bring you down as well.
Exactly. You can't and surround yourself with those type of people. You know what I mean? You can try your best to put them on. You can try your best to get them to level up their life. But again, if they don't want to change, there's only so much you can do. And you got to understand that you're expending all this energy trying to change them when they don't want them changed, compared to where you should be using that kind of energy to prove yourself. The best thing you can do is, with someone who doesn't want to be changed, the best thing you can do is just be the example. Because you can try to change them for months, for years. Yo, you should be doing this. Why are you doing this? Yo, stop thinking like that. And they're still the exact same person. Sometimes it's just best to just be like, no, I'm gonna distance myself. I'm gonna work on myself. I'm gonna level up my own shit and be the example of that level of that success. You know what I mean? So to where they can look at you and they can be like, fuck, this guy just did that. You know what? Maybe it's time to make a change. I feel like that's the only option you can go if someone doesn't want to be helped, is to be the example.
And sometimes that is going to work. Sometimes you will spend that time focusing on yourself, and that person will eventually see you and be like, shit, I gotta help myself eventually. And it's an indirect way of doing it. And of course you're not improving your life just to help that person. But then in turn, going back to the whole, you're selfish for improving yourself, that is then another way where you are going to help other people because you helped yourself.
Mm. No, you got to get back on that one. Okay. Yeah, see, it's it portrays, you know what I mean? It could be anything. You level up, you level yourself up in the gym, you improve your physique, you get your money up, you get your status up, whatever. People are gonna look at that as motivation. Some people will talk down on you, some people will hate on that shit. That's cool because everybody talks. Anyways, it doesn't matter. Everyone will always judge. So just understand that it's never selfish. Just keep doing you, man.
Yeah. And I mean, so something that I can't stand is the whole culture we have now around being mentally ill. It's people, especially on TikTok and social media now, people take a pride in having mental issues. And that people, I see all these girls post on their stories, oh, I just did this, I'm mentally ill, ha ha ha. Like, what is so funny about that? Your life is so negative. What is good about that? And it's just, that just goes along with like, what do you say to someone like that? There's just nothing you can do.
It's you. Okay, you can't really help those people. There's different situations with that. It's people seeking validation, people seeking external validations because they're not content with themselves, or then they're insecure about things, and it's just you can't have those people around your life. It's as simple as that, because not only are they gonna drag you down, but it's draining. It's mentally draining having to be around that constantly, seeing that constantly. It's you're never gonna be able to progress as a person mentally, physically, whatever, if you're constantly seeing that type of thing. So yeah, that's you can't.
It just goes back to surrounding yourself with the right people.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Yeah.
what do you think people misunderstand about motivation?
People think that motivation, it's an interesting, and I think people believe that motivation. People believe that you should always be motivated to do whatever it is you need to do, and you got to understand that you are never gonna be motivated every day. I know people hear that all the time. I understand discipline plays a role. Yeah. So people wonder how it is that you get motivated. And I think you should be able to get your motivation from the little momentums, the little daily wins, the daily habits. That's what's going to be your motivation to keep going. Because if you're seeing those small progressions, those are building daily into weekly progression, into monthly progression, and you're looking at it, you're like, shit, I'm one step closer to my long-term goal. I'm more motivated than ever. But really, it comes down to consistency. If you're consistent and disciplined, you're always going to be motivated. You're never going to build discipline with just motivation. You know what I mean? That doesn't come. So just learning to understand that you're not going to be motivated every day. But once you learn to embrace the days that you don't want to do things and you still do it anyways, you look at those as wins, and that's going to be your motivation to keep it pushing.
And those really are wins. The days where you wake up and you just feel, I don't want to do anything, but the fact that you're able to get yourself up and do it anyway, that most people aren't able to do that. That really does take willpower.
Definitely. Like people overlook themselves. We were talking about this earlier. People are they chase their goals so much, and what's that word? They're looking at themselves as like they're not worth it or anything, when they're constantly doing this type of shit every day. Hey, like, bro, like, you gotta understand, like, you're doing shit that not a lot of people are capable of doing. This shit takes a lot of courage, a lot of mental strength to be able to do. You know what I mean? The fact that you're able to pursue this kind of path that's different from the average person, that itself is already a different level of courage, right? You could be, doing the same shit that everybody else is doing, the same typical shit, the same whatever, but you decided, no, I'm gonna take a step away from that. I'm gonna just pursue my own route. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's very important to be conscious of what you're doing and realize, why you're doing it. because there is a reason to why you decided to do what you're doing.
Yeah, for sure.
So you're not at school right now. I'm not at school right now. You think school's bad?
I don't think school is bad. School isn't bad because you see all these social media posts about how you should be your own boss, you should be doing nine, you shouldn't be working 9 to 5. Yeah, yeah, yeah. If you are someone who wants to be a doctor, who wants to be a lawyer, who wants to do something that requires school, go to fucking school. You know what I'm saying? We're not shitting on school. We're not, saying school is completely terrible because, there are pros and cons, right? But you got to understand that what we preach, what I like to preach as well is pursuing whatever it is that you want to do, that what you feel happy doing. So if that means you got to go to school and you're happy with school, go to school. Fuck what everybody else thinks. The concept we talk about all year, that applies to that too. But if you feel like what you got going on right now doesn't require school, you got to understand that school is always going to be an option. You know what I mean? So go ahead, take that leap, pursue whatever it is you want to do because school is always going to be there. So though school has its pros and cons, people have different opinions on them. But me personally, I don't think school is bad. It's just not for me. That's it.
Right. And I think, in terms of me, like, I really didn't enjoy high school. I really didn't enjoy middle school. So I have a lot of bad stuff to say about that. But in terms of college, like you just said, what we like to preach is do whatever you want to do. And if you, because for example, a lot of people in terms of a profession as popular as a doctor, a lot of people are like, their parents are like, oh, you have to be a doctor, blah, 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 this and that. We're not going to support you if you don't. And in the back of their mind, they want to do something else, right? But if you genuinely, so in that case, if there's a way around you not having to do that and you can pursue something else, whether it's a different major, whether it's not college at all, I encourage that. But, of course, everyone, sometimes that's not an option for people. And I understand that. Mm-hmm. But then again, in the same situation, if you genuinely want to become a doctor, that's what you really want to do that. Take the 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years to school to do that. Because that's what you genuinely want to do. That's what's going to fulfill your soul. And that's just the most important thing for you to do. Because one day life is going to be over. And if you look back and say that you spent the 40 years working or whatever amount of years working, if it's not something that you enjoy doing, what was the point?
Exactly. You can't let outside influences influence you to make decisions that are going to compromise your long term. You know what I mean? You got to understand that if it's not what you want to do you always got to think long term. If that's not what you want to do long term, you're not going to be happy doing it. Why would you even want to do it? The other people who are influencing you, they're not living your life. They're just there just to talk. You know what I mean? But you got to understand, just whatever it is the fuck you want to do, just do it. It's as simple as that. It's hard, but that's what comes with walking out the noise. That comes with being aware of your potential, all that stuff, what we were talking about earlier.
Because something else you have to realize is all those people that are saying bad things about you, whether it's good things, bad things, whatever it is, at the end of the day, they don't even care that much. They really don't. They're going to hear about one thing about you and they're going to say whatever. But down the line, you're working whatever job you're doing, whatever you're doing. People are so focused on what their life, all the problems that they have and everything that they're dealing with. They're so much more focused on that than anything about you. And I say to people, I use an example like, let's say you walk in a mall and you fall and you see a few people might have laughed at you, right? And you go throughout the rest of your day, like, I feel like I've been judged, like, I shouldn't have fell, like, I'm a klutz, whatever, right? But what you have to realize is the 99% of people that laughed at you, that just saw you fall, within the next 5 minutes, they're going to forget about it. They're going to move on with their lives.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Because it's not important. They have so much shit to deal with. So, I mean, that should just be a motivator in of itself, is, realizing that if you do make a mistake along the way, if you have a few fuck-ups, it's like, people might judge you at the time, but in the grand scheme of things, nobody really cares, man. You live, you learn.
Yeah,
Nobody, people don't realize that, it's like I'm 19 years old. I'm not 60. I'm not retired, right? But even though I'm only 19, like, I know that the majority of people are 65 or retired, and they still don't have it figured out. They don't know what they believe in. They don't know what happens after they die. They haven't figured out the whole living part yet, even though they're that age. It's like everybody's just trying to figure out what life is all about. How to just, everyone just wants existence to be as best as it can. And some people achieve that and some people don't. But at the end of the day, whether people are conscious of certain things or not, that's what everyone's trying to do. So, it's taking so much time out of your day to judge everyone else and spread all this negative stuff. It's not gonna get you to achieve that.
for sure. And the fact that everyone's so worried about themselves that if someone takes time, their actual time out of their day to fucking leave a comment on one of your posts or whatever saying some negative stuff, they really expended that much time and that much energy just to leave something negative. You gotta look from it at a standpoint of like, what are they going through? You know what I mean? For them to feel like they should be bringing someone down with them. I mean, it's like, it's an interesting perspective, but like, you gotta, like, when I see that kind of stuff, I kind of feel bad for them. Like, yo, what are you going through? You know what I mean? Because again, like you said, everybody's focused on themselves. So nobody really gives a fuck about what you're doing. It may seem like it. They may leave a comment on some shit, but at the end of the day, they're going to scroll past it. They're going to go on with their day. They're going to go do whatever it is they need to do, whatever it is they need to prioritize on. They're going to get it done. I mean, they don't care about you. It's as simple as that.
And comments like that and people spreading negativity, like, it is pretty telling about, most people are dealing with stuff to have that type of energy to give to you. Because even if, in terms of, me commenting on a YouTube video I've seen or something like that, I never leave anything negative. If anything, it's positive. And, you have to realize that when people post that negative stuff, it's like that's the energy they're sitting in, and they're trying to spread that to other people so then other people can feel like that too. And you don't have to fall for that.
You got to understand that everyone's going to talk about it, positive or negative, whatever it is you do. It may not seem like it at the start. Maybe, when you're starting your journey, everybody's supporting you. Yeah, you got it. Let's go. We got you winning. But like when you go up, as you begin to progress, people are going to start talking good, negative comments, and you just got to learn to take in the positive, say thank you, appreciate it, block out the negative. And it's like, it's interesting because I've looked at that as this is for any of my content creators out there. What you hear about the saying all the time, you can't let negative comments get to you. But one thing, there's a sneakier one. This is what Gary V says. You can't let positive comments get to you either, because now you're letting positive comments get to you. Yo, you're the best. You're the GOAT. Yeah. And that's feeding your ego. You're like, oh shit, really? Yeah, maybe I am the best. The moment that negative comments hit, it's fucking crashing. You know what I mean? So you got to understand that you see the positive comments, appreciate negative comments, just whatever, both just look at it in a neutral standpoint, because at the end of the day, people get it regardless, good or bad.
And with the positive stuff, when people are appreciating you and saying all those good things, of course, appreciate it and enjoy it. But when they say, oh, you're the best and stuff like that, don't let that be a symbol for, okay, I don't need to level up. I don't need to make myself better anymore because everyone thinks I'm good already, right?
Right. Definitely. It's staying humble. It's all about staying humble, understanding where you came from, understanding that it can all be taken away from you any second as well. And just keep it pushing. Just keep trying to improve yourself every day. That's it.
Right. And as for the negative comments, a lot of people can use that as a motivator too. You know who David Goggins is?
Yes, I do.
So, Chris Williams, and shout out to his podcast. He had Goggins on a little while ago, and David Goggins was talking about how he takes all the negative comments that people leave on this stuff, He writes them down. He records himself self-narrating it. And then when he goes and runs in the morning, he listens to people talking shit about him in his ears while he runs. So he's running, and all these people in his own voice are talking shit about him. And, that's a motivator for him. It's like, you're saying this about me? I'm going to keep fucking going. Dude, that's another level.
That's different, bro. I've never even fucking heard that. That's crazy. It's all perspective. You know what I mean? Like, you can look at that negative comment as, fuck, he's trying to bring me down. Fuck, maybe I am what he said there in a negative way. Or you can look at it as like, fuck, maybe I'm doing something right. The reason he sees that he's throwing hate comments on me is because he sees my potential. He sees what I'm actually becoming. He sees how I'm leveling up. And so he's trying to bring me down. I mean, there's so many ways you can look at it. So don't think that just because someone leaves a negative comment, it's completely negative, but you can turn it into a positive. It's all perspective. There's different ways to look at it. And that's with any situation as well. It's not with comment, it's with negative situation. You're in a bad spot, you're in a tough spot. What is this trying to teach me? Or what am I going to, where is this taking?
Everything is perspective. No matter what happens to you, whether you interpret it as good, bad, you have the choice to interpret it as good or bad. Everything, right. we so often believe that everything in life is out of our control, but it's not. When someone says something negative to you, and you get really angry or you get really sad, you don't realize it, but you're choosing that. You are choosing to let that feeling fulfill you and engulf you. You have an opportunity, a chance to, when someone says something like that, take that second to think to yourself, I don't need to let this get to me. I don't need to respond back in anger. I don't need to let this ruin the rest of my day.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it comes down to. Like you said, you're letting it influence you, because people say all the time, yo, it's so hard to give a fuck, to not give a fuck about what other people think. I mean, I feel like it's damn near impossible. I mean, it doesn't matter how successful you are. All the successful influencers, even me, myself, I'm in content for time. Sometimes in the back of my head, I'm thinking, fuck, if I post this, what if somebody comments this? Whatever. But at the end of the day, you will have thoughts like that, but it's how you let them influence you. How you let it throw you off? Did you let it throw you off course? Or do you let it, deter you from whatever it is you need to do? So like you said, do you let it influence you or not? That's it.
Right. And, one other thing that, I think is so potent in so many people's journeys and on the step to improving themselves and getting to where they want to be is learning a bunch of information and either applying it or not applying it, because there is a huge difference in sitting on YouTube all day, learning on whatever you want to learn about, and just sitting with that information. And then there's a difference between looking at a few videos, learning the information, and then thinking to yourself, okay, how am I going to apply this? How am I going to take action? Because that's something I suffered with from a long time. I'd watch all these self-improvement videos, how to do this and that and that, and I felt like I was doing something. But until you actually take the action, the knowledge is wasted.
Mm-hmm. And again, a lot of people, this goes back to the concept we were talking about, but you don't have to have it figured out every step of the way. You don't have to watch every single fucking video. You don't have to learn everything inside out to get started on starting a business or whatever. You can just have a plan, get some knowledge about it, apply it, start, and learn along the way. I feel like that's the most effective way, because as you learn along the way, you experience shit yourself. And so you're able to interpret it in your own way. And that, helps you progress even more, because now you're learning from that. You're making changes to, your plan and all that stuff, so you can progress further, right? And with the whole motivation thing, people are constantly consuming it. Again, like you said, they feel like they did something. You know what I mean? And so they're sitting there, it's becoming an addiction. It's a dopamine, like craving for them. They're sitting in bed, they're watching all these motivational videos, self-improvement videos. Get your ass up, you can do this, you can do that. And they're like, shit, I feel good. You know what I mean? The next day, they're doing the exact same shit, laying in, they're watching motivational videos every day, and they're letting that shit, control them. And you can't, again, you can't let that control you. You know what I'm saying? And you gotta take advantage of it. Watch the motivational video. Oh shit, I feel good. Let's take that energy and let's get started. Let's put it to something good. You know what I mean? So you cannot be a consumer every single day. You gotta learn to apply as well. And as you apply, continue to consume, and you just keep putting out, taking it in, putting out, taking it in, putting out. It's like recycling. Right? So
Everything in life is about taking the action, applying the knowledge that you have, so you can help yourself and then help everyone else.
here you go. So it's as simple as that, really.
Joseph, thanks so much for coming on.
For sure. Thank you again for having me, Brad. We threw out a ton of value. I can't lie, for everybody watching. First thing first, I'm gonna admit it. First, probably like 5 minutes, I was a little like, you could say nervous, you could say excited. I don't know. I had some nerves in me. I can't lie. But overall, this was a great experience. Thank you for having me on.
Of course. Where can people check you out?
You can check me out on Motivational Speaking on TikTok, Instagram. YouTube is coming soon. YouTube content is coming soon, but we will stay posted on that. But mainly TikTok. That's where I post. Try to post daily content. Instagram, you can see in depth of my stories in the life, etc., etc.
Awesome. Thanks so much for tuning in, guys. We'll catch you in the next one.
Have a good one.